AlMashriqi, who's a journalist and strategic affairs expert. Hamid, thanks very much for joining us today. Certainly an interesting address to the UN by Jeffrey Sachs there, who's a renowned economist, and there's quite a lot to unpack in what he said. But he did say that all wars could be ended quickly by the Security Council. But I can't help but that seems a bit optimistic, given that it's largely remained paralysed over the conflict in the Middle East.
Yes, Peter. I mean, obviously, his testimony was very thought-provoking, and I must say that it was based on most of the things were factually true. But obviously, I mean, when it comes to the interest of the world powers such as America and NATO, they won't, find it, or they won't like to resolve these issues so easily. But as he has given a very factual facts about how the Ukraine war started in 2014 by toppling the government of that president, and then he talked about very clearly the two-state solution of Palestine, and Israel should go back to the position of 1967, and he rightly gave the references of the United Nations resolutions as well. On top of it, his suggestion that there should be a peace-keeping force of the Muslim countries after the recognition of the Palestine. That is one of the very ideal, optimistic solutions. But to be honest, if you really want to make the world as a peaceful world, the United Nations has to play their role to resolve the global conflict. And at the moment, as his research is saying, and rightly, these are the four big global conflicts going on. Ukraine, Russia, he has given a right solution. Then he talked about Israel and Palestine solution. Two-state solution with autonomy of East Jerusalem as the capital is the right solution. And then he talked about Syria, Bashar al-Assad, how did American and they all started that conflict and war to kick his regime out, and that was a wrong thing. They have to admit it. And then he talked about the Libya crisis and why did they invaded and what has happened after that. So many militias are fighting with each other. So if you look at his research and if you look at the solutions, I believe it is possible, and it can be started from the current ongoing catastrophe on Palestinians. And obviously, forming a fund like Peace Fund, it would be not even, it would be very much effective to resolve the issues and help the economies of the war-torn areas. And I agree with you that, if you look at the current situation, the way Americans and the Western world is backing Israel, they're not going to accept these suggestions or, proposal from Jeffrey. But as a matter of fact, it is true.
Indeed, it seems like he's sort of asking some countries to give up their own interests in the region. That was in another one of his examples, saying that the UN could choke wars by cutting off external aid and financing. But again, that would also seem that it would create an imbalance in one side being steamrolled by the other.
Of course, that is the reason. That is the reason that America have their so much interest in Gulf particularly, and that's why they keep supporting Israel because Israel is working as their policeman in the area or protector of the interests of Americans and NATO. So that is the problem, that when we look at the all global conflict, they have a larger impact due to the interest of the larger, powers in the world, where they back up by financially giving them the weapons, supporting them through their diplomatic efforts. And on top of it, we have seen that how many resolutions against Israel has been vetoed by Americans, just to let Israel do what they are trying to do and what they are doing for the continuously. And we have seen that, America is equally responsible for this genocide in Palestine. And then on top of it, if we talk about the situation in Ukraine, again, Europe is responsible to put this trouble on Ukraine rather than anyone else. And then America has misled and, make the conflict worse. So, if you look at the world scenarios, I think this is the time when the rest of the world powers has to put their effort towards putting the pressure on the solution of the global conflict.
Indeed, Hamid. Apologies for interrupting you. I just want to get your thoughts on one last question in 2 sentences, if you will. We are running out of time. What do you make of his suggestion to introduce an Arab-heavy peacekeeping force to Palestine? Would it not make more sense for the security to be provided by a more neutral third party?
I agree. I agree that it would be too optimistic to having an Arab force only to as a peacekeeping force. Even United Nations force can do the job, and it doesn't matter. It does not have to be a Muslims-led force. It has to be a neutrally led force where they will be responsible for developing the peace in the region. So I think it will be too optimistic to having only Arab peace force in Palestine. I think it could be better developed by putting a United Nations peace force or any other peace force just to stop IDF crimes in the region.
Indeed. Hamid AlMashriqi, journalist and strategic affairs expert, joining us live from Manchester in the UK. Thanks so much for your time and thoughts today on RT.